Welcome to the Virtuos Codev Blueprint. I'm Ludovic Amouroux, Senior Regional Marketing Manager for Europe. Virtuos is one global company with multiple specialized studios, and today we're focusing on the expertise within our EU locations. We're diving straight into the challenge of simplifying complexity in large-scale projects. I'm virtually sitting down with our producers, directors, and engineers to discuss how a centralized co-development strategy, leveraging studios like Virtuos Paris, Black Shamrock, Virtuos Labs, Montpellier, and Third Kind Games, forms the blueprint for managing large-scale technical complexity and delivering seamless project results. Our theme for this episode is how to simplify complex game development. But before we get into this topic, I would like to leave the floor to my guests to introduce themselves. So please do.
Hi, I'm Kirsty Fraser, lead programmer here at Third Kind Games. We're based in the UK, in not so sunny Leamington Spa today, which is just south of Birmingham in the UK. And Third Kind Games is all about co-development, our expertise in live ops, and mainly quite a focus on our engineering skills as well. So we've had the luxury of working on such titles as Hearthstone and Sea of Thieves. And more recently, we've been working on our own title, Mavericks, which has been involved with Matt Jones, who's a pro Red Bull mountain biker. So that's been really awesome to see.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yago. I'm the art director of Black Shamrock here in Dublin. In studio, we specialize in full cycle game development, level design, world building, and RPG action adventure title like The Other Worlds, Dune Awakening. That's some of the games that we worked on. My role here is essentially to oversee the artistic direction of our projects. And yeah, that's a quick overview of my background. I'm happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
And hello, everybody. My name is Alex Murphy. I am the executive producer at Virtuos Paris. Virtuos Paris is a studio that does a lot of co-dev. So we did some patches for Cyberpunk, some updates for that game. And we also released The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered with help from Yago and from Kirsty and Joseph. We have all disciplines in the studio, from engineering to animation. We have technical art as well, production, design. And yeah, we really pride ourselves on having this kind of portfolio of really big games that the people are excited to play. Yeah, thank you for having me on today.
So hello everyone, I'm happy to be there with you to share my knowledge and experience in the video game industry. So I'm working for Virtuos Labs Montpellier that is based on the south of France. We are a very specific studio since we are mostly doing technologies, like doing such tools, such engineering technology. And so we did work with so many games such as MXGP 24.
Okay, so thanks, guys, for the introduction. We have a lot of talents in all our different studios. And actually, the very first question I want to ask is to you, Alex. So we have more than 20 studios around the world. We have like large-scale projects, a lot of disciplines. So what is actually, how do you actually set up everything in motion? How can you actually make it simple to all this organization to make it efficient and fluid?
There's always going to be a level of complexity when you're dealing with this many people. But what I would say is, like, there's two answers to your question, right? Like, one of them is from the client perspective, and the idea is to make that just like a one-stop shop in terms of communicating with a small group of people who then are able to diffuse all the information and report up and down. So as a client, you're not talking to 10 different people, you're just talking to a small group of people. And we have a really interesting structure where, like, production and the directors of each department kind of overlap in some ways to make sure that the technical guidance is being given, but also like the management and the expectations and the the priorities are also being set effectively. And this takes a big group of talented people to make that happen, and people who are really passionate and dedicated to what they do. And it's something that is challenging, but it's something that after many years of working with different co-dev studios and different clients, that we have built a kind of reflex for, right? Understanding how to manage these teams, who needs to do what, how that information is reported, how the priorities are set. So a lot of that comes from the inbuilt experience that we have at Virtuos Paris.
Yeah, I think it's something important that you just mentioned, is that Virtuos, we celebrated, if I'm not wrong, last year, the 20 years anniversary. We have a lot of clients, a lot of talented people and expertise and experience. So it's probably where we have, let's say, an advantage in that we can use all this experience and expertise from before, let's say, to set up the best possible, let's say, structure and, let's say, technical architecture. So anything else to say about it, Alex?
What I would say is that we work with all of our sibling studios, is the term I believe, around the world, to make sure that the objectives that we have for the client is done in the most effective way. And we have studios that specialize in certain things, and you'll hear about that a bit more, I imagine. We have over how many studios around the world now? Over 20 of them or something like this?
More than 20.
And what we do is we leverage the people that we need to from each of these. So, for example, when we talk about facial animation, we have Counterpunch in Los Angeles who are specialists at this. When we talk about engineering, we have people like Joseph in Montpellier who are, specialists in this kind of area. So it's not just within Paris and making the studio inside of Paris effective. It's globally when we look at big projects like that. And after 20 years, yeah, we have some experience there.
So how do you actually communicate with more than 10 studios at the same time? It's crazy for me, How do you make it efficient and fluid again, Alex?
It's about getting the right people and then trusting them to do that properly. We are very lucky that I'm going to take Yago as an example. Sorry, Yago, to put you on the spot, but we have a very, very senior producer called Ricardo, who we work with, who works with Yago to make sure that all of the art for projects is done to the standard, on time, and all that kind of stuff. But those art teams are spread out across the world, from Paris to Malaysia to China to the USA, as we've talked about. So we have people locally in those countries who help manage those teams to make sure that, again, priorities and deadlines and all of that is super clear to understand. And Ricardo is responsible for all of that. And when you lead a project, you have to have a team that you trust, and then those people have to have a team that they trust. You can't oversee and micromanage everything on some projects that are huge, that have hundreds of people attached to them, because they are the experts. Why, as a producer and a guy who works in Excel and Jira, should I be telling Kirsty's team how to build something technical? Like that doesn't make sense. All I need to do is say, hey, we have to have this done by this date, ideally in this order, and you guys go and work your magic, right? Obviously, there's a few more steps to that, but that's kind of the idea. And it works. It works. And we're very fortunate to have such strong, talented people in this company to rely on.
I hear you. There's something important that you mentioned is the communication. So how do you communicate the long-term benefits of an architectural decision to non-technical partners to ensure production buy-in?
When you say partners, you're talking about clients or like other people inside Virtuos?
Actually both.
Okay. Well, for clients, I am a big believer in client relationships. I come from the hospitality industry before video games, and you can have the best food on the planet, but if you have terrible service, you're not going to get anywhere. And I really believe that it's the same for all businesses. Like the relationship with the clients is the number one thing. And we spend a lot of time with the teams making sure that we're putting in place ways for people to build that relationship, be successful, gain the trust, show them what we can do and how we do it and how capable we are. And that way, when a client says, this has changed now, we need you guys to adapt, we can say, okay, that's fine. And we can implement all of that without adding this extra stress or pressure onto the client. But again, I think it starts at the top of the project, right? What are we trying to achieve? And then making sure that that is clearly defined and broken down and then communicated to everybody else. So we have, on the project that I'm working on, we have all hands meetings where we talk generally about what's happening in the project. We have a clear roadmap of what's supposed to happen and when and what our targets are. And then the teams themselves have kind of like little roadmaps where, okay, we want to achieve this and then achieve this and then achieve this. And the whole of it will get us to what we have to achieve on a more macro scale. And as I said, we have a really strong team of production who motivate the team. We have fun, but also at the same time, we understand that we have a job to do and we have to make sure that by this date, this is ready and debugged and polished and all that kind of stuff, so that when the client logs in on day 0 and sees what's been delivered, with a smile on the face, like that's the goal, right? So yeah, that's a very long answer to a very short question. I'm sorry about that.
No. It's really, really interesting to understand the process, to understand how you can set up the needed to be efficient and to build also the trust with the clients and the partners. So, Yago, I can imagine that in your work and your team's work, you need to manage a lot of assets. And we hear more and more to automate the process, the treatment of assets. What would be your take about that, between simplifying, being efficient, but keep also the value of an asset which is handcrafted sometime?
So when we're dealing with hundreds of or thousands of assets, the key is understanding the full scope of the game. This is similar to what Alex was saying. So as an art director, one of the most important parts of my job is to structure the entire workload and keep the full picture in mind. And that allow us to make smart decisions about where to invest the manual effort and where to, let's say, automate, or where more handcraft is necessary. So as an example, like hero assets or any props that might have a narrative weight or iconic value or direct player interaction, are almost always done manually, right? So what you want is that extra level of care, authenticity or artistic sensitivity that only comes from human touch. But for more generic or natural repetitive elements, that's when automation becomes incredibly powerful. So things like rocks, trees, vegetation, even some architectural systems, like that can be used, or for example, caves, things like that. That can be used to create multiple levels, or even the way to create multiple levels using some recipes can be generated or accelerated through procedural tools or rule-based systems. So these approaches allow us to produce like large volumes of assets very quickly while maintaining consistency across the world. So it's mostly about like balance. So understanding where the artistic craftsmanship is essential and when procedural tools can help us scale up or speeding up production without compromising quality.
I hear you. So based on what you just said, I think that Black Shamrock expertise in world building help actually you to maintain the visual identity of original titles across new. How did you actually leverage on this expertise to actually do this part and to activate on this part?
So in terms of expertise, for me in the studio, it's a similar thing that Alex mentioned, where the most important factor is always the team. Surrounding yourself with talented people, listening to them, brainstorming together, and letting ideas flow, is essential. For me, it's one of the most fun parts, to be honest. Like just sit together in a room and just talk about how we can do things, right? So from there, as a director, my role is always to take kind of all those ideas, because there's hundreds of ideas, and make the final decisions about which one is the most viable, right? Cohesively, across the entire world. And that's where, having a strong team like what we have in Black Shamrock, it's essential. In practical terms, like once we've all aligned on the direction through brainstorming, we usually start creating a set of manual rules, visual guidelines, pipelines, for example, that we can test in a specific area that we call it Beautiful Corner. And this helps us validate the artistic direction, like the level of fidelity, what we want to achieve, and that create a rule that other people can follow, right? Like, and we can propagate. I can put an example, imagine, we said about the rocks, right? Like, maybe if you're doing a remaster or a remake or something like that, like the original rocks might, or even a new game, right? Like, the rocks are like maybe, I don't know, 100 different type of rocks. You can never sculpt 100 rocks or like 500 rocks by hand. That's going to be something that it will make the time and scope exploding, right? So instead of that, we create procedural tools, like that can, I don't know, for example, add some subdivisions, add some noise functions, reshape silhouettes, work in multi-masking. You can create set up some rules, and again, suddenly you can create 500 or 1 million rocks, like with one click, let's say. So, and again, part of the beauty of this industry is that there's never just one way of solving a problem. There's always multiple valid approaches, and our job is just to find the best one, and the one that preserves the best quality and keeps the identity of the work that maybe, like, again, the original work that maybe was there, or escalates effectively across the entire production of a new game. And that's the beauty of it. Like, for me, that's why those brainstorms, are really important, because there can be multiple ideas. There's no one way of doing things. You can do it in a million different ways, and all of them might be good ideas.
I hear you. You mentioned something important before that partly will answer my next question, is brand guides, visual guidelines. But how do you actually manage the artistic quality control when assets are being generated from automated tools versus being created by hand across multiple locations?
So in these cases, we try, our workflow would be something like identify how often something is used in the game, see if it can be automated, then create a manual version of it first, so we can have a clear understanding of what we want. As I mentioned before, like kind of that beautiful corner, we can even do it for a piece. So basically, the goal with automation is just to avoid repetitive and tedious and boring work for an artist and speed up the process. That way, that's how we keep consistency, and we make sure automation is always like a benefit and never like a burden. That's and the artist can spend time on what really matters, and not just on doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, you're actually pointing again something super important is for the team to have enough support and tools. So now I will ask my next question to actually Joseph. So your team specializes in custom tool development. Well, I know you a little bit because we discussed it a little bit in Montpellier. So I know that you have some kind of a fresh perspective to help the core team to choose a more optimal technical solution they might have missed, maybe. Can you tell us something about it?
Yeah. So most of the time when we start to work with someone, you need to know what they want. And most of the time they don't really know what they want. So this is one of the biggest problems that we can have. And then when you know what the client, whoever it is, know what they want, you can start to create something. And to do so, you need to know about the topic you need to develop about it. And for that, you have many solutions, like knowing the right person to know everything about this topic, knowing a blog with a ton of tutorials about it, how to reproduce it, and things like that. You can also check what already exists and try to reverse engineering to understand how it works, what I can do, what technological stack I can use it for that. In Montpellier, we do have a doctor that is used to work with the virtual geometry. And this is really helpful since they can create something new, like write a paper for the other studio, other game company. Also, I would say that we are all coming from a different area, like different topic. For myself, I like more a DevOps topic, but some other people do prefer graphical programming. Since in Montpellier we are from many different engineering topic, but sometimes we need to do a tool that have an UI, and we are not UI designer. So I know that I have a coworker that is working in Paris that is used to do UI design. And so this is really helpful to know the right person and know that we have the right person on the Virtuos group.
I hear you. I see here like a challenge because there is a lot of experts in different, let's say, expertise. So how can you actually be efficient? How can you actually simplify the contact, let's say, to find the right person? Is it because you build actually the relationship with the people and you know who you can address, or is any tools or any, I don't know, anything that can help you to find the right person to have actually your answer to be the answer of your question to be answered?
Yeah, most of the answer to this question is the network. You know a person that know a person that know a person that if it's not inside Virtuos, you know a person that know a person outside of Virtuos that know a person, and so the network is really important. And this is one of the strengths of Virtuos, that having a ton of person that know a ton of person, so you will always have the more precise answer to your question.
Yeah. And I think that also we kind of mentioned that earlier, after 20 years on the market, probably one of the issues or let's say problems that you are facing may have been already tackled or actually considered in the past. So yeah, that's actually interesting. So yeah,
but
yeah.
Since the problem might be already resolved, since the technology evolve quite fast, sometimes we need to start from the beginning, check if the solution is still relevant, and maybe also change your mind. Like sometimes you want to address a problem, you start a way, but it's not the more optimal way. So you might need to change your mind and start to shift how you want to address the problem. And also in this case, having some friends, some coworker that is able to give you their opinion about your problem might help a lot. Like if you're stuck on something, you can ask someone else and they say, oh, maybe try by this way. And you think, oh yes, I have not ever think about that, but it's the best way. And so it's a great power to have a lot of a great network.
I hear you. So yeah, let's move to another question about tackling a feature. So how do you scope your R&D efforts to ensure they deliver a practical, shippable solution rather than just an academic experiment. This is a specific question to you, Joseph, because I know how you don't rely to, let's say, academic process.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, first you need to investigate a lot, check what already exists, maybe reverse engineering. And so you have a kind of view of what you can do. My opinion is the best option is to start to do a small prototype, like a proof of concept. With that, you can ensure that maybe the concept is good enough. You can give it to the final user in the case of a tool, or maybe the client or something like that in the case of a technical feature. And by prototyping early in the process, you can ensure that you are going on the right ways. Like sometimes you do a prototype, you give it to the final user, and then the final user say, no, this is not working as I intend. We are not gonna use this because it's not fitting our needs. And doing this really ensure that you will not go in a very bad end, making sure to ensure delivering the product at the right time, at the right quality. So doing a prototype is very important. And then the second big thing is to iterate over and over, not just defining something big on the beginning of the project. You need to put yourself in the doubt. Like not one answer is good always. Like over the time, the opinion of the client, your opinion also can change. And so you need to, once again, change your mind, think about it, like maybe what I did is not good, so I will redo it. And sometimes it's worse to put this cost. Like if you redo something, you refactor something big, it will be expensive regarding the finance. But in the long term, you will gain this, because if you are on a bad position, then you will be maybe more in a bad position later, rather than just redoing the things better on the first time, and then you are on a better position about that.
I hear you. Okay, that's super interesting. So now let's move to Kirsty. We're gonna talk about performance. So the way I understand your team acted as a performance track team at some point. Can you walk us through the moment you found that single high impact code change that dramatically reduced the asset memory footprint?
Yeah. So, I mean, part of what we do at Third Kind Games, obviously, kind of helping clients get obviously their games out to market. That's the end goal here. All have fun games to play. So sometimes we need to come in and help out that. So, yeah, I would love to say it's very easy, but unfortunately, it's not. We've had it cases where a lot of the easy wins, like the obvious wins for performance, perhaps the clients have already done that. So you kind of have to go a layer deeper, and kind of just sit and get an understanding of how things are working on the code. Is there any sort of nuances that might be how things are set up with the client? So the client's code base. So, but with us coming in, we've kind of got a lot of fresh eyes, new perspective on things, and kind of similar to what Joseph was just saying there, kind of being able to try something a little bit different and propose different tactics of, have you tried this? Have you tried a few other things? So yeah, so a lot of times it is a lot of time spent investigating into something. I guess you can almost see it as like a wall of levers. You kind of turn off something. Has this changed anything? Has that helped or hindered us more? So, and for this case, it was very much finding one area that was like, oh, this is actually costing us a fair amount of performance. We'll, drive a little bit more into that. Try turning it off, and we had a couple 100 megabytes back instantly. And we were like, okay, we're on to something here, so we can start kind of pushing down on that. And on paper, it can look like, you've spent, however long to do one single line fix, which on paper you can argue that's not that great, but I think depending on when you're coming in on the project, and especially if it's been a very critical time, like what we can sometimes be involved in, you need those safe fixes, because obviously, again, Joseph was saying you don't want to be refactoring everything, and that just can put fear in clients' eyes of, oh no, but we need to get this game shipped out. So the safe, isolated fixes that are one line change and obviously can easily be backed out if something doesn't quite work out are amazing to find. So yeah, it was a lot hard work to get to that point, but it's like, I don't know, a very good serotonin boost when you find that. And obviously, a lot of those small couple 100 megabytes coming back in, that's adds up over time. So yeah, it's always a nice when you get that, but it can be a bit of a struggle and back and forth a lot of the time to get to that point.
Yeah, we've started actually with a very precise topic. But now let's try to explain a little bit about Third Kind Games experience and how actually the full expertise of Third Kind Games help to actually prepare your team to anticipate and fix performance issues before the title is live. Any title is live.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's one of the things I love about co-dev is you get to work on a lot of different projects. So you're almost, kind of filling your own personal tool belt with knowledge from each project, and you get to see how other people work, right? So while it might still be the same engine like Unreal or Unity that we use, it's kind of different ways of working within that. So with that, you can kind of start getting a sense of, okay, we know the usual suspects. As I said, like the obvious wins, the easy wins that we can, okay, is this turned on? Okay, it's usually, turn that off and it'll help us. So, but there's also a case of that might only get you so far, and we start need to going that level deeper. But I think as well, there's like, we've mentioned throughout all this, it's the team and the knowledge we can gain as well. And I think at Third Kind Games, we were already great at, hey, I'm having troubles with this. Does anyone know about that? And again, it's that network of people that, oh, this person doesn't know, but they know someone else. So yeah, we can kind of rely on that, and obviously sharing what we find off the back of each project. Our team are really good at sharing that internally, but then obviously, again, widen that out to Virtuos. I think that's great. So yeah, I think kind of case in point is making sure that we're sharing our knowledge around internally, and also trying to see what we can pick up with every new challenge that we get faced with.
Yeah, so we mentioned Third Kind Games expertise, but also the interactions with the other studios to benefit from also this expertise to be more efficient. I think that's also a topic of as I mentioned earlier, to predict the unpredictable. So possibly based on all the titles that you work on and also this expertise from the, let's say, other studios, how do you actually anticipate the optimization work, let's say, for upcoming updates and in the future, let's say, of a game? How does it work from your side?
Yeah, I mean, ideal world, the earlier the better, is better, obviously. So we're not kind of getting closer to that end date of needing to hit the big green button to publish everything and all going live. So, but it is a balancing act. Again, for a life cycle of a project, right? It's kind of, okay, are we in the prototyping stage? Are we figuring out, try to get something onto the screen to figure out, is this actually fun to play? To obviously, you start tracking the technical debt of, okay, we know this is going to be, not a great way of doing something that should probably be addressed. And it's just knowing when to invest that time and effort to go and do that. So yeah, a balancing act, and I think Alex mentioned earlier of obviously try to get fixes in at the end, and having producers obviously kind of a bit more of a clamp down on that. But again, it's getting that knowledge base underneath us as a team to know the best ways of working with the tools that we're given, whether that's, as I said, Unreal, Unity. Yeah, it's kind of understanding that, I'll say, kind of risk versus reward of, is this going to be a safe fix that's going to help us out long term, or is it a bit more of a riskier one, but it's a better practice going forward? Again, similar as how Joseph was saying, it's kind of that balancing act as well. So, yeah.
Okay, that's super interesting. So yeah, based on everything that you shared with me so far, and I'm talking to all of you guys, I have the feeling that it's not easy to balance, let's say, the iteration, brainstorm phase, and trying to be efficient and to simplify. So it's probably like more a question to the producer, how to organize the work, and also how do you actually balance both by being to simplify things, to be efficient, but giving also the time to iterate and to brainstorm. How do you actually approach this? Anyone can start to answer on this one.
Yeah, I can add something. My opinion is that about that is to define what add value to the things, and also since we are coming from different disciplines like producing, engineering, art, and so we need to know how the other person on the team will understand something and what they need, and so we need to explain to each other. Like I need to explain to my producer why I need this time and why I think this is better than doing something else, and the producer need to understand why they need to give me this time, and also they need to explain to the client why we need this time, and a lot of things like that. So we need to communicate a lot and understand how each other need to work, what we need to work, and things like that. And this is very valuable to ensure delivering the things on time.
Okay, someone else want to jump on it?
You know, in a perfect world, everything is planned from day one, right? Like you're like, hey, we have to ship this thing in 9 months, and right now we know exactly everything that has to be done. But that's not really how this works. How any project in any industry works, to be honest with you. And I think it's as Joseph said, it's like listening to the team, understanding where the value is, and I think value is the really important word, because if it's like we need to spend time now, but we are going to save time later, and communicating that kind of the value add of doing this, and if you can't define what the added value is, then it's probably not worth doing. Whether that be added value for the player or the project or the team or whatever, efficiency. I would just say as well that like when you are planning a project, you have to take into account these kind of things. Like you need to have a little bit of room to maneuver, because these things will happen. And I don't think as I said, I don't think any project knows exactly on every single day what is going to happen for 9 months. And that number only gets the bigger that number gets, the more unknowns you have. So trusting the team, listening to them, where is the value add, and does that fit into the roadmap? And if it doesn't, then there's a bigger discussion to have, right?
Mm-hmm. That's super interesting. Maybe Yago or Kirsty, you want to jump on it?
So yeah, for me, balancing tight deadlines comes from a habit that I had since I was a kid, especially through college. And I try to always prepare the delivery before the real delivery date. So it's a personal rule that I still follow today. And for me, building that buffer gives me room to, let's say, improvise when things goes wrong. Sorry, because things will go wrong. Like we know that it's impossible to go perfect, like from start to end. Like things happens, and it prevents last minute panic, basically. So honestly, it also helps me sleep better at night. Like having this rule. So having that margin, like means that I can focus on making things efficient without feeling crushed by the deadline. And in the end, a good planning makes the whole process much easier and more reliable. But yeah, always prepare your delivery before the real delivery date. That's my rule number one since I was a kid, and it worked. I have to say.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
But yeah, until now at least.
Yeah, that's super interesting to plan some buffer. So let's come back to the initial question: how to simplify complex game development. What would be for you the thing? I'm trying to pronounce the right way. The thing that someone needs to do and must do to actually tackle something very complex and trying to simplify it and to make it efficient. What would be the thing?
To me, understanding the full scope of the game. That's rule number one. Without that, you can spend days, months, whatever you want in a single asset giving rounds of feedback. So understanding the scope, like sometimes even like we call it like when is shippable, like for an asset, like, okay, this looks good. Like, can we improve it? Yes. Can we make it blue, a little bit more blue instead of a little bit more green? Yes. It's still going to be good. Like but is it shippable blue or is it shippable a little bit more towards the green tone? Yeah. Like we can ship it. So understanding the full picture for me is the rule number one and the first thing that everybody should have in mind, because again, you can make something extremely good and then the rest of the game is just undone or like with really bad quality. So you need to understand that there's 100 assets. You cannot do one perfect and 99 medium quality. No, all of them have to be really good. So you need to understand the full scope of the game, deadlines, like what you have to do, the time that you have, the budget that you have, and with that, organize. Without that, yeah, you're dead in a project.
Okay. Kirsty, I see you nodding about what Yago said. You want to react on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just knowing what when it is good enough for getting whether that's shippable or getting through the first phase of a prototype, for example. So yeah, I think knowing when to cut it off or draw a line under something, and carry on, because again, ideal world, we've got all the time in the world to make games, but then nothing will potentially see the light of day. So yeah, knowing when it is good enough is a great shout. I think for me personally, obviously it can sometimes be quite stressful making games, but I think a bit of a fluffy duffy answer might just be have fun as well. Remember, have fun. We all make games for a reason. It's usually because we've grown up playing them or whatever the case may be. But I think at the end of the day, let's have fun with the team. And again, I've personally found that's what helps keeps a little bit of the team banding together, is have a little bit of fun across the day or the project. I think can help us out in those more stressful moments of a project, like coming up to release. Can be exciting, but also the stress of trying to get everything done. But it's also a good reminder we're all here to have fun and make awesome video games.
Yeah, I would just say, for me, I mean, you probably know what I'm going to say, but it's about trust in the team. Like, you can have the coolest idea and the coolest game, but if you don't have a good team that you trust, there's no point. You won't be able to have fun. You won't be able to understand what exactly you're building. I think it all goes down to people. And in this industry where everything is very technological based, it's people still doing all of this. And you have to have people that are good and that you trust. Otherwise, there is no point. You won't get anywhere.
And for myself, I would add to the Yago's rules that the second rules might be to communicate, because as like everyone as a bit mentioned, we are making game together. So if you are not communicate, you will be not able to achieve what you want to do. And you might have a certain opinion about how to do the things, what is the objective, but maybe someone else will have another opinion, and so you will have to communicate to define what is the in-between opinion.
I hear you. So it was my final question topic for this podcast video. So thanks a lot for your time. So I learned actually a lot. I hope that the people who's going to view and watch this video will learn more about how to approach complex, large-scale project and trying to simplify them. And we've just seen actually that it's not that simple to simplify, that it requires actually a lot in our backpack to actually make things smoother and efficient. 2 more videos are planned, so bear with us and go on social media, on LinkedIn, look for Virtuos, and see you soon with those both videos. Bye bye.